My brother. Woohoo!
How you doing?
You know what? Do you know what? I still get excited when I get to interview people on Zoom. It's so I can't explain to you how different it is when you're like using a camera. And I used to think using the camera in film was the best way, but it's carefree like this.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
just easy. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
But my
yeah.
brother, thank you, man. Thank you so much for showing up, man. Really
No
appreciate
problem,
you.
no problem. No,
You know,
yeah,
we met recently in
yeah,
Scotland.
yeah,
It was an absolute privilege to be in Scotland, and
yeah,
you know, I love Scotland, but obviously it was a very short trip.
yeah,
But
yeah,
we got to talk about a few subjects that are close to my heart, which is like
yeah.
kids, the future of this country, you know, where we came from, the struggles we had, and you
Yeah.
know, what can we do differently? How can we kind of make things better for the younger generation? And we had
Mm.
a meeting of minds, and I said I have to interview you. It's amazing. So, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself? Obviously, your name's Alan. Tell us a bit more, and you know what you do and everything else. That just to start us off.
So yeah, like I said, my name's Alan. I currently work as a runner for the BBC Kids and Family,
Mm,
specifically a show called Saturday Mashup Live. And I'm just like really getting into the space and trying to like broaden it out to a lot of other people, the younger generation especially. And that really sums me up. Like I have this passion that just keeps growing, and just want to keep pushing at it.
brilliant, brilliant. Obviously, so but you're in Scotland. How long have you been? Did you go to Scotland to work, or basically do you live in Scotland?
Yeah, so I moved from England 9 years
Mm,
ago,
mm,
just before I turned 18 with my mum.
mm.
So I didn't really have a choice. And I was down in Kent at the time, and my geography was so bad. When she was like, "We're moving to Glasgow," I'm like, "Oh, that's just down the street." Like I didn't realize how far it was. But anyway, we made that move, and it was definitely a culture shock. Obviously Scotland is a predominantly white
Mm,
country. Like a lot of people, you know, I lived around and was friends first, were obviously white. Like I didn't really know how to find my own like space, my own culture, or my own people, if that makes any sense. But
mm,
definitely, my mom decided to move down, but I had this was about 4 or 5 years in, but
mm,
I had fallen in love with Glasgow, so I decided to stay,
mm.
finish my studies, and started working. And I mean, I don't have any plans on leaving anytime soon.
Wow, brilliant. That's great. That's just great to hear. So you said about that basically you were looking for like your something like your own culture and everything else. And you said now that you love it. So what changed? What did you find that made you kind of think, you know what, my culture doesn't matter? Because you said
Yeah,
clearly there was not enough people like
yeah,
yourself there.
yeah.
What changed? What changed in you?
I found something I loved. I found
Mm,
something I could connect with
mm,
on like on like just like a passion. Like it was just this thing that I kind of felt to myself, had been calling me for so long. And
mm,
that was the creative industry.
mm,
That's what really brought me in. Growing up, born in Africa,
mm,
immigrated when I was 2 years old. Parents are like very um strict Africans, so it was, doctor, accountant, whatever. And in my mind, I was I thought that's what I had to do. I had to do what they want because my mom sacrificed coming to this
mm,
country.
mm,
So when I found my culture, and when I think culture, I think other creatives and other people who have my interest,
mm.
you know, I had to make that decision that, this is me, this is where I want to be, and this is where I need to stay.
Mm. Brilliant. And did the Scottish people ingratiate you?
Um, yeah, I mean, Scotland is definitely a lot nicer
Mm.
than I think other parts in the UK. I feel obviously wherever you go, there are you know your horrible people, but um, a lot of definitely I feel like Scotland has definitely taken me in and is allowing me to make this my home.
Wow. And that's incredible because obviously you're talking about you came from Kent, and Kent to me, I just think of Kent as a very leafy, rural,
Mm,
beautiful place. And,
yeah,
that, I don't know, it's not like London,
yeah,
to have left
yeah, yeah,
Kent to go to Scotland and to find Scotland better than the rest of the UK in many ways. It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
about Scotland. So that's
yeah,
amazing. And you know what? When I go to Scotland, I've been to Edinburgh. I've
yeah.
absolutely adored the people there. I mean, there was an occasion where I was very lucky that I was,
Yeah.
and this is such a funny story, in fact.
Mm,
I was out, with drinking, having a great laugh, and some
mm.
guys approached me, and they clearly they at that point in time they thought I looked a bit like Thierry Henry,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
I was a little bit like, "What's that?" And he goes, "What team do you support?" And they looked like they were going to give me a kicking. They really, really,
Yeah,
because I looked to them, I looked like Thierry Henry, and he
yeah,
really, that's before I grew my beard, right?
yeah,
Maybe that's one of the reasons why I grow my beard.
yeah.
And then they were like, "What team do you support?" And I was like, "Oh my god, what's going to happen here?" And I was like, "Man United." Like, "Man United, yeah," because obviously
Yeah,
Ferguson.
yeah,
So that saved my bacon. You know what I mean? And like they were like,
yeah,
"Oh yeah,
yeah.
you're one of us. You're fine, mate. Get drinks."
Mm,
So that was lucky. I got off from that. So yeah, but Scotland, I absolutely love Scotland.
yeah, yeah,
Anyway, so you're at the BBC. All right.
yeah.
Now, to me, being at the BBC, it's like as a kid, I can't even imagine what that would have. The idea of even going to the BBC was just a dream. BBC is very different to in terms of its scale to what it was.
Mm,
And the BBC is competing for people's attention. You've got
yeah,
the
yeah,
internet and everything else. But when I was a kid, like Jimmy Savile, who we now
yeah,
know, the infamous Jimmy Savile,
yeah,
and Art Attack. These are the things that I was really into, like
yeah,
art and things like that. And Mork and Mindy, when I was a little young nipper,
yeah,
and so, but I would have never. I mean, I think I wrote a letter to Jimmy Savile.
yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy, please fix it for me, Jimmy.
Uh,
Thank God he didn't fix it for me, right? But
uh,
so that was, but the idea of going to BBC is just way out there in my brain. So you're actually in the BBC. What's it like being part of this huge institution?
um, yeah, first of all, the BBC is the one thing I learned is it's a lot bigger than like you think. There's
Mm,
definitely different departments. So I'm more familiar with the kids and family.
mm, mm,
So that's it's. I think I'm quite lucky. I obviously can't speak for other departments,
mm,
but I'm lucky that I have an amazing group of people.
mm.
Like it's also quite. I don't know what I think. I want to say proud, kind of, because I'm now, I work for a company I used to watch when I was a kid.
Mm,
Like I work for the same, channel that, you know, every day after school I would go watch a few things,
mm.
just whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just I can't really put into words how
Yeah, it's
amazing
just dreamlike, right?
it's like. I can't. To this day, I'm like.
Mm,
Sometimes I walk into the building. I'm like, I'm really
mm.
like walking into the BBC, and you know, and I think the people there
Mm.
is what makes it like just the amazing place to be. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, I was there with my son Harrison, who's
yeah,
an actor in Jamie Johnson, and
mm,
and obviously he's going there. And I'm looking around. I'm like, my God, the size of this room. We could have a
yeah,
gig in here. I'm thinking about all this
yeah,
stuff, and then we met the band, the Sherlocks.
yeah, 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 yeah,
That's amazing. It's all of it. So, are you meeting people that like? Because obviously, for me, meeting like bands like that on TV,
yeah.
I support bands. I'm very much into music. Are you
Mm.
meeting like famous people and thinking, wow, there's all these famous people and it's impressive as well?
Yes, yes. So obviously with the show, like we always have different like celebs come on, and
Yeah.
it's very inspiring as well, just to speak to them and like just be with them, because they are people who have had a dream
Mm,
and are making it come true. They're not like in the back of their mind saying, I want to
mm,
be an actor. They are an actor. They
mm,
thought it and they made it
mm,
true. So
mm,
you're like, and I think that's the thing with the creative arts is you're constantly around people who had a thought and are making it happen. If that like it's just, but it's honestly surreal. Like you know, when other shows are filming as well, you know, you do meet other people and you have like a little chat with them, and you do meet some of the most interesting people. Yeah,
You're part of that dream. You're part of creating that dream as well.
yeah.
You know, and that's it. It's like the dream makers, you know. And now
Mm.
people hearing this and watching this might think, yeah, whatever. They don't really got down. You got to understand it. It's like when you make a film, the work that goes into creating the work that goes into producing or setting up those productions.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I think like with the show even that I'm working on, it's almost people are working for like 2 weeks each or even longer just to create 2.5 hours of live entertainment for people, and you know, that's a lot of time to just you know, a lot of time and effort to put into to try give people what they want. So yeah, it is a different aspect when you're behind the scenes, and you know, you watch a show, you know, it looks half an hour, but you don't know they've spent, you know, 3 days just to get 30 minutes of entertainment for you. So definitely people who do this and like stick with it, just hats off to them. Like, yeah.
Absolutely. So question, very important question now. How do you then, because obviously we talked about how big this is, the dreamscape, everything else. How do you make it real for a kid? Like I talked about how for me it was just impossible dream. How do you make a young kid out there believe, a young kid who's, you know, someone like from our persuasion or our color persuasion, right? Probably not the right word. You know, our color, whatever. You know, it's hard to describe it. You know, I call everyone brothers and sisters, black brothers, white brothers and sisters, right? So let's be clear about that. From the black groups, obviously, we want to introduce everyone to this, right? But
yeah.
People from our backgrounds, I think, are less likely to believe that they could ever get into that world, ever see that world, ever escape their world. I mean, for me, the estate was my world. When I was a kid, the estate and where we were, that was our world. You know, you didn't really go out of these areas until you were like, you know, you're going to go look for someone to fight or whatever it was, or find some girls, but you just literally would stay in your world. It was a big risk to come out of it. So how do you feel that young people are going to be able to embrace it? How can you get those young people to go, you know what, I can have this dream too?
I think it's by kicking doors open for them to have the opportunity, firstly by showing and like going out and like showing that you are in the industry, this is a possibility for you. And I think for me at least, it's getting them at the root, like at school, or even talking to their parents and showing, look, this is a possibility. It's no longer, you know, if you want a stable job or if you want to make a good living, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer. All those are all important professions, and we do need all those things. But at the end of the day, entertainment is what like births creativity. It's what resets those minds of those doctors that go out. So I think the way that we do it is by telling those kids, telling those in schools, and like I know right now in Scotland they're trialing pilots for, you know, when you did art in school or PE or design technology as like classes growing up, they're adding like TV and film courses to, you know, show that this is a viable option. And not to mention, people like TV and film really control the society we're in. Like everybody is on their phones watching videos. These are all in the little well, that's it, like the it's like a encompassing of like the whole media, if that makes sense. And it's like going to them at a young age and showing that you have the power to influence everybody is something. You don't have to be on that corner. You don't have to be, you know, running about. you could be out there making a real impact to other people's lives and getting and like securing that thought process for them when they're young, I think is what's important and what's going to show them that this is a possibility for you.
Yeah. So just a quick question. So very short answer in this one.
Mm.
Did you just how did you get the job? Did you just walk up and get that job, or what? Did you write a letter? Did you go for an interview?
I actually email actually. I was working at the Hydro up in the Glasgow. There was a conference. I was studying television production at the time, and I took that leap to go and speak to someone and say, look, I study this. I study this as this is what I want to do for a living. They gave me their email, and that's what helped me get into the industry. It's taking that step forward, having the confidence to, push yourself for it.
Brilliant. So, and what's the next step for you? What are you in terms of so you're a runner? What's the next step? What's the kind of career path?
The career path is hopefully to push forward in either camera or production, more specifically production management, because I do love the creativity of the camera, but I kind of like the logistic sides of setting up things, and that's what production managers do. They're the ones that book the accommodations, they booked the people, they fill in all the forms, and I do enjoy that side. So it's still at the beginning of the career, and we're just gonna see how it goes.
Great. And so a very important question, because obviously I'm part of ClusterView, I'm creative director of ClusterView. Music's a big part of what we do. We believe that music has a big, in terms of influences, we believe music can really impact you in certain ways. If you listen to R&B, it just has different flavor. I know my son is into R&B, and I know he's just so chilled. He's very chilled. So, I'm more into rock music, and I like the bands like Skin Dread. I wasn't really into metal rock before, but I'm kind of, because of Benji Webb, I'm like, I actually like this. This is heavy. Wow. So I know I've clearly got a personality I love. I've got ADHD code going on with me. But there is music that actually, and people talk about hertz, the hertz and the frequency and everything else, how the impacts and everything else. But for me, hip hop, beautiful, but there was gangster rap, not so beautiful. What music did you listen to growing up?
This is going to be quite shocking to a lot of people, but I listen to a lot of musicals, like that musical genre. Like, I did hear, gangster rap and gigs and all that stuff, but I kind of found myself leaning more towards the musical stuff, if I'm being honest, because I love the positivity of a lot of what they were saying. It was the complete opposite of what I was hearing when I was with my friends listening to Talking the Hardest by Gigs or something.
Okay, so musical. So you basically that's quite interesting. It means that it means that you were kind of open to things. The difference. You weren't one of these kids who was just following. You were finding your own way.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Once you've got that kind of open mind, the world is kind of always there. The problem is there are a lot of kids out there who are followers. So it's going to be harder for them to kind of work, be able to walk out of that, that scenarios that they find themselves in. It's just so much harder. They don't want to upset the leader, the gang. They don't want to upset the group. Do you know what I'm saying? They say anything, you got people in the group that they just don't, they always want to be yes boys, right? Because if they say something that upsets, they might get picked on. So they want to make sure there's quiet. And that's the issue, is trying to get those kind of kids who probably potentially aren't really into gangster rap, but they want to prove a point. Like when I was a kid, I don't know if obviously I'm quite light skinned, right? I found that being light skinned made my life different. I didn't understand it till I got older. I didn't understand why that I was always being bullied. I've got a birthmark on my forehead. I don't know if you noticed it. I got a birthmark here. And that birthmark, like yourself, you've got a birthmark as well. So that's quite interesting that we both got birthmarks. that in itself, that really helped. You know, it's like, because it meant that I was never ever going to be able to fit in, but it did mean I was going to get bullied all the time. Do you know what I mean? But you
Yeah.
know, but I just felt like I was always kind of not in that place. Like, you know, I'd go into a group of black guys and they would make me feel like I wasn't one of them at some point. Do you know what I'm trying to say to you? So that kind of
Yeah.
helps too. It's like, how are we going to get young people who are so trapped in these scenarios, too afraid to be different, to be different? So music obviously is a big part of that, but it's like, how do we get them to think out, to get away from that kind of music? And you know, some of the shows I've seen on BBC, Jamie Johnson, I really love. This is quite interesting because you talk about influences, things like that, and the power of influence. The media has been influencing young people for a long time, and the media has not recently started to change maybe some of its direction, but prior to that, it was always using like drill music and everything. If you listen to FIFA, you know FIFA,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's loads of drill on FIFA. I'm
Mm.
like, why am I listening to drill? Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in Jamie Johnson, they play rock music.
Mm.
And what I learned was that certain kids were going, "This is not cool. Why are you playing rock music? You know, we
Mm.
want to hear drill music."
Mm.
And I was so chuffed that the producers still stayed and kept playing rock music
Yeah.
because it just changed. It's just a different influence.
Yeah.
How important do you think music is? How important is music as an influence, do you think?
Yeah. I think because music is almost like a multicultural language to me. It
Mm,
doesn't matter if you're in Asia, America, Europe, Africa. Songs have a way of connecting everybody,
mm,
regardless of what language it is. It's how you hear it, how it makes you feel. And I
mm,
think music, having like you say with Jamie Johnson, and like sticking with rock, even though they're under pressure to change it, I
mm,
feel what they're doing is showing people that there are other things out there. It's okay to be different. You don't have to. You don't fit in like the same cookie cutter thing. I think music's, especially music, it's just so
mm,
it's so powerful that I feel like it can just really teach people life lessons
mm.
just by different genres.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you for that. So who were
Yeah.
your role models?
Or growing up, I this is gonna sound like quite not controversial, but
Mm.
people like I remember my mom used to teach me about a guy called Che Guevara. He's
Che
like
Guevara.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Is he a communist?
No, no, maybe actually, I don't know, but no, no, as in he,
Che Guevara. I'm sure. I'm definitely certain he was. Is he Cuban?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Che Guevara. He definitely Che Guevara. Yeah, yeah, because he got Fidel Castro.
yeah.
Che Guevara. But
It's
anyway. So anyway, forget it. Well, that's politics. Not getting into politics. Go ahead. By all
no,
means, go
no,
ahead.
because my mom was trying to show me the power of protest and the
Mm,
power of not allowing someone to dictate your norm.
mm,
That's what I quite like I took from him. And obviously the whole political side, I was like a kid, I did not understand any of that,
mm,
but that's one of the role models I remember having as a child that
mm,
really pushed, and then led with people like Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, all
mm,
these people who saw an injustice
mm,
and say, this is what we have to change. And that's kind of how I see my life and why I think it's so important to get more people of more lower income families access to these creative
mm,
you know instruments that we have.
mm. Yeah, because if you, for example, if you're somebody's company, they're set up in communities or areas where there is a lot of low, income families, but
Mm,
they tend to pull that their pull comes from the middle classes.
yeah, yeah,
Even though they're sat, you can literally, you're looking at your window going, that's ITV, it's Channel 4 over there, but you
yeah,
can't actually access it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, 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 yeah.
I totally get it. And there's something you talked about the low income families, and that kind of puts me to this question I want to talk about diversity. I There was a statement. People obviously people at this moment, they're talking about diversity, how useful is diversity. We understand it because of immigration, all of these things right now. People are asking these kind of questions. And so I want to ask you, how true is this statement? Diverse groups are far more productive or creative than less diverse groups.
Oh, I agree personally.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% agree because, but for me, when I think that obviously diversity, it's like a melting pot of different cultures put together, and it's. I think it's quite. I'm trying to figure out the word.
But this is about when it works, right? Because if communities don't work together, then
yeah,
that's the opposite of diversity, right? It's
yeah, yeah.
kind of segregation. That's people rejecting integration. But when, for example, in an institution like the BBC, where you can pull all, you can get, someone from the gay community, someone from whoever, every different background, poor people, low income families, black people, Asian people who'd otherwise never be in the same room together, right? In some situations.
Yeah.
And they have their ideas. So we're talking about that. So carry on from there, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So it's exactly, you're talking different ideas and opening minds to different things. Something you didn't even think of. Like there's a saying, you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
And by being in these rooms with different communities put together, you're gifting yourself knowledge. Like if in my opinion, if you're still thinking the way, like I'm 27, if I was still thinking the way I did when I was 12, I've just wasted 15 years of my life. It's only because you put yourself in these diverse situations, we can evolve as a people.
Absolutely, and I get it, and that's the positives of immigration. Now, obviously, there are some negatives, but the positives is that we are getting a real we get into if you have the best people, intelligent brains, from every different group, you're creating something magical. I'm sure when the Second World War happened, there were when I watched them as a kid, when they went to Saudi Arabia, you saw the Saudi Arabian heroes. You know what I mean? When they went to Africa, you saw the African heroes. Wherever you were going, you saw people who they used and they worked with that they could stay in the community, especially in the Middle East. And you thought, wow, these they were like spies that were from the Middle East that were part of the British work with the British. So that just pretty much explains the importance of it. We're now seeing it in a melting pot in our own country. Some people are ready for that, some people aren't. But it's definitely about how you work with the people and the right people that you bring in. That's my thoughts on it. So you talk to me about this, because I do ClusterView. I do lots of interviews. I'm all over the place. I'm actually all over the place. All right. And but one of my biggest loves is the idea of working with young people and teaching them the stuff I know. Bringing in great people who great minds to do talks and interviews and all sorts of, with young people. And because I've met so many people, it's going to be very easy to do that. So, that's what I want. And we talked about what you wanted to do, which was basically teach young people video, how to use videos and do editing. So tell us a bit about what you're planning to do one day.
Yeah, I would like to set up a CIC, so a community interest company where we teach minorities in our industry about our industry, and not only how to get in, but the practical skills to help you get in as well. Talking about again the whole diversity, I think for instance, this is I don't know if you heard about the story of Mrs. Brown's Boys.
No.
The main, Brendan, he used the N-word during a read through, and he's an older white man, and I was actually there, and I quit because of that. I quit the show because of that, and I remember thinking, would he have said that if that room was filled with more black people or more people of color?
Mm.
And I think that's why we need that's why we need like
Mm.
ideas such as myself to bring in people to make the the place I work in a much better place. And not only that, I found, like I said, this is my culture. TV's my culture. These are the people I love to be around, the creatives, and that's why that's my main interest in bringing it in. And it's also giving another outlet to some kids, because um sometimes sometimes kids get in trouble because of boredom. That's it. They just don't
Mm.
have anything else to do, so they go out and do something silly.
Mm.
Whereas when I started doing this, I found that taking up all of my time.
Mm.
So I feel like this helps them, gives them better knowledge, shows that there's options out there for you to really make a change through media,
Mm.
and allows them to almost settle their mind. And like, because kids are all, they always say you're the most creative when you're a kid.
Mm.
So just allowing to teach them how to manifest that practically. Yeah.
Brilliant. And so if they decided they wanted to make a film about going and blowing up a building and destroying lots of people with machine guns, would you let them do that? Would you think that
I
I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
No, yeah, yeah.
How would you help them to do that in a way that didn't just excite them? They're passionate, like,
Yeah,
oh, this is really crazy, we're gonna do this. What kids are like, give them a gun, they're like,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
and they start shooting it, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I yeah, I think it's, you know, talking them through the process and what the story is behind it,
Mm.
and not um just the whole a
Mm.
random mess, if that makes any sense. Like, really, I mean, if that's what they want to do, I'd ask them why.
Mm.
Like, why do you want to do that? Do
Mm.
you actually have an interest in a story of like a hero, a bad guy kind of thing, or are you just
Mm.
do you just want to cause mayhem? Because that's not really what I want to do. I want to, teach them like sensibility or a purpose behind their actions.
Brilliant. Do you know what? It's like it's literally exactly some of the things I want to do.
Hmm.
And that's why it's so good that we have this, because wherever we're gonna have to work together in some capacity over the future
100%. Yeah.
generation. However, because this is it. I think you got to get these kids with interested in things that they like, things that
Hmm.
keep them engaged, that they can
Yeah.
learn from. And
Hmm.
I think that I don't know what the messages are from other people trying to do something positive out there for kids, because I'm sure everyone's trying to do something good, and there's a lot of wonderful people doing stuff. But
Yeah.
I just think that, but sometimes I think the way they're going about it, it's not having the results that they would
Yeah.
like.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of money being spent and wasted. I mean, where I've started off from is I'm funding this myself. So there's no kind of I'm going and taking someone's money and I'm doing this because I want to spend £500,000 that someone's given me. I'm like, well,
Hmm.
I'm going to build something and build it as on the most economical thing, the layer that I can possibly achieve, but
Hmm.
get it to the point where it actually starts to work and that starts to fund itself, and it does it the right way. So it makes sense, but it's very, very practical, and it's
Hmm.
helping in the right way. Because if it's not helping, what's the point taking money and throwing money away, right?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Especially in this day and age when everyone's a bit tight in their pocket.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's good that you've got good ideas, new
Yeah.
ideas, and more importantly, you can get them. They will be impressed turning up to the BBC and
Yeah.
seeing what you're doing, and thankfully with what I've done ClusterView, I've got so much to show these young kids. So it's like we're on the right path, my brother. Thank you so much. You're an amazing man.
100%.
I feel honored, that you were so kind and cool, and we got on really well, and I feel very honored that we had this opportunity.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you so much for having me. Especially with interviews, I do. You probably anyone who's watching this will probably see I struggle to um, say what I'm thinking, So thank you for just being patient and you know, allowing me the time to like speak about it. And again, that's another one of the reasons I want to do this, teach these people media, is because although sometimes I struggle saying it, I understand how to show it, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
of
So
course.
yeah, just thank you again. I can't wait to, you know, see where we are in a couple of years and how we can help each other progress in any way possible. Yeah.
Definitely. We will be talking. Seriously, we'll be talking. And I'm going to come to Scotland as well. You got to come to London and I want to come to Scotland. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank
And the
you
kids,
so much.
hopefully the kids will appreciate what we've done today.
Yeah, thank you so much. God bless. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Alan. God bless. Speak soon. Pleasure. Bye-bye.